So let's get started. We're going to head over and find some stillness on your back. So it could look a little bit like Shavasana or constructive rest pose, whatever you prefer. Good. So just make sure it's a place where you feel comfortable, a place where you can feel your spine relaxing on the ground and both shoulders doing the same. If it's comfortable for you, just let your eyes shut and let your breath flow in and out smoothly. Your breath at the beginning of class is a little bit like your diagnostics, just seeing what you're showing up to the mat with today. Try to sense those things from the inside out. Might feel nice to do some nice deep exhales out of the mouth. Let it go. Do our best to keep these rich breaths with us as we begin to move. And if you don't have your knees bent already, let's bend your knees and stack your feet right under. Let's find our pelvis. Just place your hand on the bonier parts of the pelvis that you can feel on the front, maybe a little bit on the side, and then just rock your pelvis forwards and backwards. So if you had water in your belly button, as you tuck the tail under, that water would roll towards you, and then you tip it the other way, it would run off of you. So just finding that movement. Your hands are there to help feel that. And we're just bringing little micro movements into the spine where it connects to the hips. Okay, so we'll relax, let the hips stay where they are. Digging through your heels and relax your arms by your side. Tuck your tail under, so that's where the water would roll towards you, and then start lifting one bone up at a time through the spine to a glute bridge, and then roll back down the same way. So segmentally, tailbone lands left. Good, so link it with your breath. Inhale, the hips rise up. And exhale, lowering it back down. 2 more times with breath, just warming everything up. And when your hips lower down the next time, we'll keep them there and bring both knees into your chest, wrap your arms around. Give yourself a little hug for a moment. Good. All right, this time around, let's lift the knees so they're directly over the hips, and it looks like a little bit like you're an upside down tabletop. So stacking the knees over hips, glue the knees together and glue your ankles together too. So you could slip like a piece of paper or something there and they would stay the whole time. Bring your hands to the backs of the knees and then just press the knees and hands together. If you're resisting here. As you do this, remember to breathe as deeply as you can. We're waking up our core, all the muscles wrapping around, supporting the spine. And do your best to really press the low back into the ground so no air could travel through. Keeping this pressure here for about 2 more full breath rounds. And again, let that work go, but keep the same shape in the body as you press your hands down by your side. Actually, let's bring them into a cactus or T shape. So try to ground through the shoulders. So keep squeezing the legs together, and we're just going to rock them from side to side slowly, but without letting them drop all the way to the ground. So just a gentle rock as slow as you can over one way, then the other way, bringing a little bit of rotation into the spine. And you can even really press through the backs of the hands and the elbows to help resist the urge to drop the legs all the way over. Let's do one more time each side. Let's lift your knees back into your chest. Give yourself that hug. And we're going to rock and roll our way up to tabletop, or use your hands to press on up. All right, looking good, everyone. So finding tabletop, hands stacked under your shoulders, knees under hips. Link in with the breath again through a few cat and cows. Inhale to pull the heart forwards as the tailbone lifts to the sky. And exhale, find that roundness as you tuck the tail back under. So let the eyes shut, stretching out both sides of the body and turn. And let your breath really be the guide here, bringing you forwards and backwards in your cat and cow. And we'll come back to stillness and tabletop. Begin walking your hands towards your knees. You sit all the way upright over them. Let's encourage ourselves to have a little bit of tone into the glutes and the thighs. Everything's going to stay in one piece. And place one hand onto your head, and that's just to grow taller into it. The other one can stay on your stomach just to see if it's working hard to keep firm. Now we're going to lean back ever so slightly and try to keep your whole body in one line. Just go as far as you can catch yourself. And then we'll lift all the way back upright. Do that a couple more times. If you really wanted to confuse yourself, you could even try to rub your belly and pat your head, but that's just added bonus points if you would like. All right. Good. Just doing about one more of those lean backs. And we'll lift vertical over the knees again. This time around, we're going to take our hands, bring them behind, as if you're placing them in your back pockets if you were to have some. And then really squeeze the shoulder blades together as the elbows point back. Find that same sort of tone into the legs and the belly. Start sending your hips forward slightly as you peel the chest up to the sky. And then open up the throat as well as you gaze upwards. Let's stay here for 3 breaths in a baby camel. Send them all the way down into the belly. Last breath round. Now send the hips forwards, lift the spine tall, and crawl your way back to your tabletop. Good. Let's tuck the toes under, lift your hips up and back to downward facing dog, and just spend a moment here pedaling the feet back and forth. Settling back into the legs. Let's pull with the hands, bring your shoulders over wrists in plank position. And then with control, bend the elbows, we'll lower all the way to the stomach. When you arrive, point your toes, keep your hands lightly by your sides. Inhale, wave the upper spine off the mat in baby cobra. And exhale, come back down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhales to lift. Exhales to lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Press your hips to heels in child's pose, but keep your hands stretching ahead of you, trying to wake up under the arms and through both sides of the body. Pulling yourself back forward to table. Toes tuck under, lift your hips to downward facing dog. Take a look ahead of us. Start tiptoeing to meet the hands. Keep the heels of the hands on the ground for as long as you can until they start to peel up. Find yourself in a passive forward fold at the top, arms could just dangle or hold on to opposite elbows. And let any tension you're carrying in the upper part of the body roll right off. Try to loosen up the tongue, unfurl your brow. See how your jaw is feeling. Can you let anything else go? Inhaling, walk your hands partway up the legs, reach the spine forward. And exhale, fold back down over the legs. This time, rooting through the heels. Stand all the way up, reach your hands overhead. And exhale, let your hands settle down beside you. Good. Inhale, arms lift overhead. And exhale from the waist, hinge forward. Inhale, step the left leg back behind you. And exhale, settle the knee to the ground. We're going to become vertical over the hips and bring both hands to heart center. All right. So sit as tall as you can in the body. And we're going to slowly rotate the heart to the right. And then use your exhale to come back forward. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, open the chest to the right. Exhale, come back forwards. And as you do this, just try to keep both hip bones facing forward so we can twist into the spine. Okay. Now, facing straight ahead again, both hands will find the ground. Toes can tuck under, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Sweep your right leg back. Inhale, ripple the spine forward so shoulders travel over wrists. And exhale, either lowering to the belly or you could bend the elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or baby cobra. And exhale, meeting in downward facing dog. Let's pause for about 3 breaths, have a little check-in there. Lifting your heels nice and high, bring a bend into the knees and look forward. Tiptoe hopper step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, float back down. Let's come all the way to stand on your breath in. Hands sweep up. Exhale, let them rest by your side. Good, let's keep this going. Other side. Inhale, arms rise up. And exhale from the waist, fold forward. Inhale, step the right leg back behind. And exhale, lower the knee down. Okay, so lift the spine tall and bring those hands back to the heart. So keep the spine active, lifting, and then open the spine to the left. Good, rotate back forward. So see if you can ground through whatever's touching the ground. Trying to keep the hip bones facing forwards as you rotate into the spine. So about 1 more, 3 in total. Good, and then rotate back forwards. Hands can find the mat. And we're gonna step on back to downward facing dog. Inhale, bring the shoulders over wrists in plank. And exhale, lower. It could be to your belly or bend the elbows through chaturanga. Inhale, lift the chest part way, baby cobra. And exhale, we're meeting in downward facing dog. Finding 3 more breaths in stillness. Another good opportunity just to let all that tension from the neck go. A little nod of the head, left and right. Preparing to come forward, lift those heels tall, bring a bend in the knees, tiptoe hopper step to the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold back down. Rise all the way up on your breath in. And exhale, hands rest down beside you. Good. Inhale, stretch the arms to the sky. And exhale, float forward. As you inhale, step the left leg back, We're going to keep the knee up this time, and let's set ourselves up so the feet are about hip distance, and we feel like we eventually could stand up onto these feet. We're going to keep the left hand on the ground to begin, and just reach the right arm up to the sky. I'll try to reach that hand as far as it'll go, stretching your wingspan away from each other. Take a big breath in, looking up at that hand. And as you breathe out, take that hand, scoop it underneath your front thigh. Good. Inhale, reach back to the sky, open the heart up. Exhale, scoop, bring it under. Inhale, reach long. And last one, exhale to scoop. Now keeping the shoulders square to the ground, start lifting your spine up, and we'll come all the way up to high lunge, both arms stretched by the ears. Good. Take a big breath in, reaching a little taller. And as you exhale, we're going to split the arms into another variation of a twist. Left arm stretches forward, right goes to the back. Now, we're going to continue to try to keep the hip bones facing forward as you reach the arms away, and you could continue looking forwards or open up to the right, maybe even your back thumb. If you looked behind you, let's bring that gaze back forwards, and let's open up the other way to warrior two. Pivot and drop that back heel as the arms expand out again. Okay, so really establish your legs, and we'll reverse this warrior. Stretch the right arm to the sky, get a little longer on that side. Stay supported with the back hand, whether it's grazing that back leg, whatever you need. A nice optimistic gaze is upward. Good. Now reach the hands back away from each other, warrior two. Straighten out your front leg and then lean forwards, reach for something. Send the hips back as you pivot into triangle pose. So stretching your arms away, make sure that your spine is being supported with all those muscles wrapping around. One more breath holding here. Good. Reach your top hand back to the sky. Let it lift you back up. And we'll pivot your right toes to the long edge of the mat so they both face the same way. Bring your hands to the waist, point the elbows back behind you. Grow a little bit taller on the breath in. And as you breathe out, we'll hinge forwards over your front legs, or both of your legs, I suppose. Let the head get heavy again. Hands can drop down to the ground. And for this first one, you might just want a little rag doll. That's just the weight of the spine. Have you hang here. Or if you really want to work on the hamstring lengthening out, you could wander your fingertips a little bit further back, using the grippiness of the mat to lower the head down as the tailbone lifts. Begin walking your hands back forwards, just so we can lengthen the spine out from the hips. And from here, you might notice that you can just tense through the hand, or maybe you can bring a full hand onto the ground. If the ground seems really far away, this is where you might want to bring a block under the palm or under the fingertips, okay? So let's keep your right hand down onto the ground, whether it's tented or a flat palm. And we're going to take your left hand and bring it to your low back. Try to feel if the surface feels even or whether it's a little bit tilted. You could even just shift your weight between the feet slightly and you can feel that surface move. So try to find somewhere in between the two that you might even be able to balance a small cup of warm water on. All right, so start opening the left shoulder up to the side, start finding a twist, and try to keep the pelvis continuing to face down. So looking for that twist from the spine. The last little piece you may want to take is to lift the left arm up, and gaze can be lifted at that hand. We'll head to the other side. So the left hand drops down, and bring your right hand to the low back. Good. So now feel for that surface. Start opening the right shoulder up. And possibly if you'd like to, you could stretch that arm overhead as well. Let's bring both hands back down. Look towards your right foot at the top of the mat, and we're going to wander our way around to find a lunge position. Good. Plant both palms and step on back, downward facing dog. Now you can stay here for a few breaths, so join me for a flow by inhaling, bring yourself forwards to plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale for a back bend of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's look way forwards, get high in the heels, and tiptoe hopper step to the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, float back down. Rise all the way up on your breath in. And exhale, hands rest down beside you. Good, let's get ready to do that on the other side. Inhale, arms stretch up. Exhale, float forwards. As you inhale, your right leg will step back and set yourself up for success here. So make sure you've got that room between the legs, a nice firm stance, and your right hand will stay grounded as the left arm stretches to the sky. So follow your fingertips with the hands, with your gaze. Inhale, reaching that hand up, and exhale, scoop, bring it under your front thigh. Inhale, stretch back up. Exhale, scoop and round. Inhale, stretching to the sky. And exhale, last time, we'll scoop. So bring your shoulders to face the ground, start pressing into the feet. We'll rise up to a high lunge and stretch both arms by the ears. Coming into another twist. This time it's the right arm that stretches forwards, left back behind you, so scissoring the arms. Now, before you start opening up the gaze, just see how the hips are doing. Are they still facing forwards? Are you twisting from the spine or the hips? Slowly, you can open up the gaze to the left and maybe all the way behind you. Those are just some things to think about on the way. Okay, so we'll look all the way back forward. Reach that back hand forwards. Now we're going to open up with the right hand to warrior two. Good. So a nice big bend in the left knee. Feel both feet firmly on the ground and expand through the arms. Really nice expansive pose. Stare down the left fingertips. Reversing the shape. Inhale, stretch through the left side body. Take a look up and maybe even give it a smile at the ceiling. Pivoting those arms again, so you come through warrior two. Straighten out the front leg, and then reach way forwards for something. Hips pull back, pivot your arms, establishing yourself in triangle pose. Just stretching those arms away. Gaze is lifted. One more breath round. Reach that top hand up, let it pull you up to stand. And now we'll pivot the left toes to face the long edge of the mat. So it's about a leg length between your feet. Hands find your waist, point the elbows back behind you, and we'll fold on forwards. When the head drops down, just decide what you're looking for on this side. So perhaps you're focusing on the hamstrings, or maybe just lengthening out that neck again, letting tension roll off. You could even hold on to the outer feet if you'd like to add a little bit more of a hamstring stretch. Let's start lengthening the spine back out from the pelvis. Walk your hands forwards where you can see them. Decide if you want a block below the palms or maybe just your finger pads grazing the ground. And we'll start with your left hand onto the block this time, or onto the ground. Your right hand's going to feel back for the low back onto the pelvis. Start rolling your right shoulder open and optionally stacking the right arm over top. Now we'll switch sides. The right hand drops, coming to the ground. And now it's the left hand that feels back for that flat table surface. Roll the shoulder open and perhaps stretching that arm over your head. Bring both hands back down where you can see them. Look to the top of the mat where your left foot is. Walk your way all the way around towards the lunge, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Good. If you're feeling a flow, come on with me. Inhale, come forwards to plank. Exhale to lower. Inhale, lift the chest, baby cobra. And exhale, coming to downward facing dog. Take a look way forwards, lift the heels high. Let's tiptoe hopper step to the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold back down. Roots through the feet, rise all the way to stand. Inhale. And exhale, hands rest down beside you. All right. Now for the next sequence, you may or may not want to use a couple heightened items just ahead of you. And this is just for something like in a pyramid forward fold, which we will head to, just to give your fingertips something to rest on, okay? So it is optional, but I tend to like to use them while I go through these sort of poses, okay? So let's inhale, stretch the arms to the sky. Exhale, float forwards over the legs. As you inhale, step the left leg back, and we're not going to step back quite as far. So it's less than a lunge, so you can get the whole back foot on the ground, and it's on a bit of an angle. So we're setting up for what we call warrior one. You want the heel to be on the ground, and press through the feet, lift the arms up overhead. You can readjust the legs as needed. So bend into your front knees, that front knee stacks over the ankle. And if you are struggling to get your hips facing forwards, just widen the stance of the back foot slightly. So bring it out to the side. Stretch those arms up. Fierce, nice warrior one. You can even get a little bit of an ankle and calf stretch into the back foot. One more breath. Now we'll bring your hands to your waist, straighten your front leg. Now start reaching forwards out of the pelvis. And this is where you might want to find those little items, one on each side of the foot to dock your fingertips onto. Have a little conversation with your knee. Maybe you want a small bend into it if you feel like you're hanging out in the joints. And then we can just lower down, rounding over that front leg a little bit further if you would like. So stay here for about 3 more breaths, just opening up the hamstrings. Send the breath into the back of the leg, slowly massaging it. Let's start lifting the spine back up halfway. So it's coming straight out from the pelvis and still keeping those blocks or props under the finger pads or palms. Let's keep the left hand onto your block, and we're going to do that same thing we did before by taking your right hand, feeling for your low back and seeing how stable it is or not. So you can play around here, just shifting the weight between your feet, and you might feel that table getting a little wonky. Try to find a flat surface, and we can roll our right shoulder open. Possibly reaching that right arm to the sky as well in twisted triangle. Let's bring that top hand back down. Both hands can find your waist now and press all the way back up to stand. Whew, all right. Now we're going to open up to warrior two. So widen your stance and stretch those arms out away. Good. This time around, both arms reach by the ears. So stretching through both sides of the body. Lean back to reverse your warrior. So just go as far as your torso wants to hold you there. And then we're going to lean forwards over our front leg in an extended side angle. Now you could always shelf that forearm to thigh, bring a little bend into it. We're going to be here for about 2 more breaths. That's 1. And 2. Good. Press through the feet. Rise back up, warrior 2. And we'll cartwheel the hands down to the ground. Move those blocks out of the way if they are in the way, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, roll the spine forwards to plank, and exhale, we'll lower. Inhale, lift the chest part way. Exhale, meeting in downward facing dog. Now this time around, we're going to keep our gaze back towards our feet and use your hands to walk towards them. Inhale, halfway lift the spine. Exhale, float back down. Come all the way up on your breath in. Exhale, rest those hands down beside you. Now, how do we get from the back of the mat to the front of the mat? We'll take a nice walk, but slowly together. So take your right foot, bring it out ahead of you. Stay nice and tall in the spine as you roll through the foot, spreading the toes wide when you land. And then shift the weights. We're going to imagine we become stiff as a board from your back toes through the crown of your head as you just lean forward slightly, like a little airplane taking off, or a very, very mini warrior 3. 1 more breath, holding here. Let's start lifting the spine tall as you bend into the left knee, lift it up. And let's invite a small twist in. Bring your right hand to that knee as the left arm shoots behind you. You could continue looking forwards, or just for a moment, take a little peek back at that hand. And then right away, we'll bring our vision back forwards. Let go of the knee. And we'll start lowering the left heel to the ground. Roll through the foot, shift the weight, and launch forwards to your little airplane or mini warrior 3. Take a breath or 2 here. We'll start to lift the spine tall, bring your right knee with you, and inviting that twist in again. Left hand taps that knee, right hand reaches behind, and decide if you want to look back for a little peek at your thumb. And bring the gaze back forwards. We can step safely to 2 feet. Lovely. Let's do all of that again on the other side. So have your blocks close by. Inhale, straighten the arms over your head. And exhale, fold on down. Inhale, step the right foot back. So setting up for that warrior 1 again, that shorter stance, the whole foot meets the ground. And then we'll press all the way up to stand, arms by the ear. So bend into the front knee and readjust that back foot if you need a little bit more space between the legs, just to get the whole heel on the ground with both hips facing forward. Warrior 1. We'll begin straightening that front leg. Bring your hands down to the waist. Grow a little bit taller in the spine, and then begin hinging forwards over that front leg, deciding if you want a little micro bend to help support the joint a bit more. And then find your props just to keep under the finger pads. Feel free to now round all the way over the leg. And we'll be here for about 3 more breaths, just opening up the hamstrings. We'll start lifting the spine halfway. So come straight up from the hips. Keep your right hand supported onto the prop as your left hand feels for that table-like surface on the low back. So feel free to play again, just shifting the weight, noticing where it feels flat. And then start rolling the left shoulder open to twist it, perhaps stacking the left arm on top. One more breath. Good. Bring that hand back down if you did lift it, and we'll lift all the way to stand. Good. Let's take a wider step out. Warrior two on the other side. Stretch your arms out away from you. Find that nice expansive feeling. Good. Now let's stretch both arms by the ears again. Trusting into both sides of the body to really wrap around, strengthening the spine. We'll lean back ever so slightly for a mini floating reverse warrior. And then we'll lean forwards over the front leg for a floating extended side angle. 2 more breaths. You can decide if you want to support yourself with a forearm onto the thigh or stay lifted. Good. Reach back up, warrior two. And we can bring both hands down, touch the ground, step on back, downward facing dog. If you'd like to rinse it with a flow, we can inhale, ride forwards to plank, and exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift the chest part way, baby cobra. Exhale, meeting downward facing dog. Keep looking back towards the toes and wander your way back to meet the feet. Inhale, we'll halfway lift the spine. Exhale, float back down. Rise all the way up on your breath in. And exhale, hands rest by your side. We'll do that same little walk forward, starting with the left leg. Take the heel ahead of you. Start rolling through your foot. And then tilt forwards on an angle. Now you're more than welcome to deepen this ever so slightly. Good, looking good, everyone. Start lifting the spine vertical again as you bend the knee, lift it up ahead of you, and invite that twist in. Left hand touches that knee, right arm sends behind you. Decide if you want to look forwards or back. You won't stay here for long though. Bring your gaze back forwards. Starting on the other side, the right heel lowers. Roll through that foot. Spread the toes wide as you shift the weight. Launching forwards into your little warrior three, or you could always play with deepening how far you go down. Maybe resembling a little bit more towards warrior three. Start to lift the spine back up, bringing your knee with you. And let's find that twist again. Right hand crosses over, left hand reaches behind. You've got time if you'd like to look back behind. Bring the gaze back forwards, and we'll step to the top of the mat. Beautiful. All right. This next little sequence, those blocks will be handy or whatever you're using yet again, so keep them close by. Inhale, stretch the arms overhead. Exhale, float forward. As you inhale, your left leg lunges behind, step it back in, so you're on the ball mound of the foot. And right away, we'll just lift ourselves up into a runner's lunge, that big slanty sort of lunge for the back heel through the crown of the head as you lean forwards over your front leg. Let's inhale, stretch the arms to the sky. And exhale, come back forwards for your runner's lunge. 2 more like that. Inhale, arms reach overhead. Exhale, back to runners. Inhale, stretch up. And exhale, runner's lunge. Good. Inhale, reach the arms up. We're going to launch forwards this time. So look at where your blocks or props are. Your hands are going to reach for those. Send your weight into your front standing foot, and then lift the back toes off the mat. Now, they may go into the letter T. They might not quite get there, but really try to lengthen out through the toes behind you and through the crown of your head forward. You're more than welcome. We'll be here for 2 more breaths, possibly lifting the fingertips off the blocks for a moment. And if you lifted them off, just place them back down. So take a breath in, stretching your leg away. As you breathe out, bend into both knees. Give yourself a little curtsy. So tuck the knee behind its partner. Inhale, reach the leg back out, straighten the standing leg. Exhale, curtsy, bend both knees. Good, last one. Inhale, straighten. This time we bend both knees so much, start using your hands to find the ground. And that's where we're going. We're lowering down, find your left hip bone onto the ground, and then see if that right hip bone wants to land as well. I'm going to recommend straightening out your left leg so you can feel the sit bones onto the ground. Up to you though. We're going to keep the right knee bent and on the opposite side, then lean back into the right fingertips behind you. Stretch the left arm by the ear, get a little bit taller. And then we can bend the elbow, either tucking it behind the knee or hugging your knee into your chest. Grow taller every breath you take in. And then rotate from the spine with every breath out. Let's begin de-rotating. Take one breath off, looking to the left, the other side. And then we'll come back through center. So lean into both hands behind you for a moment. And we're going to take a little heel toe walk away with the right foot away from yourself. So trying to get the knees a bit closer together. And they might not get totally snuggled, but close enough. Your extended legs, just move that over to the right a couple of inches. So you're really crisscrossed here in the legs. Now activate into the left ankle so the toes point up. Press into the finger pads behind you a little bit more lengthen the spine. And then from the waist, hinge forwards just until you start feeling a little bit of tension, a little bit of opening into the outer leg, into the hips. One final breath here. Good, we'll lift the spine all the way back up, lean into the hands behind you again. As we straighten your right leg, but cross the ankle on top. The right is still on top of the left. Bend both knees, pull the feet towards you. Good, we're gonna do a fun little balance twist here. So keep your right hand behind you as your kickstand. Take your spare hand and you're gonna reach for the bottom foot's big toe. So it's your left foot. Try to find your sit bones again onto the ground, floating the heels. And you could stay right here or start practicing straightening the legs any amount just until you find tension between the arm and leg. The last little piece might be to float that back hand. So play around, see where you can balance. One final breath wherever you are. Good, and we can bend both knees again, round forwards, give yourself a little hug here. Good. Okay, we'll sweep your legs off to one side, plant the palms, we can find a downward facing dog again. Now, if you'd like to rinse it out with a flow, you've got time for that, coming forwards to plank, and as you inhale, lowering as you exhale. Inhale for your back bend. Exhale, meeting in downward facing dog. Good. Look way ahead, let the heels lift high, travel to meet your hands. Inhale, halfway lift the spine. Exhale, float back forwards. Come all the way up on your breath in. And exhale, hands come down beside you. Good, last little flow here. Inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, float on forwards. As you inhale, step the right leg back, setting up for a lunge. Then start lifting up just enough that you can come into this long line of our runner's lunge. So the back of the heel through the crown of the head, that's the line we're looking for. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then we can move a bit with breath 3 times. So the inhales, reach both arms up. Exhales, launch back forwards to runner's lunge. 2 more like that. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, lean forwards, arms stretch back. Inhale for high lunge. Exhale to runner's lunge. Okay, so inhale, arms reach up. This time we launch forward, so look at where we're going. Reach your hands for whatever props you found today. Drag the back toes behind you until you float them off the mat. So the blocks or whatever props you're using are there to keep the hands nice and steady, so you can really reach the back toes away. And you've got that opportunity, if you would like to see if you want to just hover the hands off the blocks for a moment. If you did that, bring them back to where they started. Take a breath in stork pose or supported warrior 3. And exhale, bend both knees, give yourself a curtsy. Inhale, lengthen out, reach the toes behind. Exhale, bend and curtsy. Inhale, lengthen out. This time we bend the knees so much, we start lowering down. Use your hands to help assist you. You might find that right hip bone on the ground. And then we're going to straighten out the right leg ahead to get both sit bones happily on the ground. All right, so bend in the left knee, foot's on the opposite side. Your left hand is behind you for support. Stretch the right arm by the ear for a big breath in. Exhale, find whatever bind you're looking for. So it could be the elbow tucked behind the knee or hugging your thigh close to you. So stay active, lengthening on the inhales, rotating on your exhales. De-rotate, 1 breath off, looking to the right. And we'll come back through center. So lean into your hands a little bit so we can heel toe that foot away. A little bit over to the right, try to nuzzle the knees closer together. And then you can just send the extended leg a couple inches over to the left. So kind of crisscrossy again. Use your fingertips to lift as tall as you can, a big dorsiflex into the front ankle. And then start leaning forwards, trying to find that IT band stretching out, as well as a little bit into the hips. So see how far you need to go until you feel that stretch in your body. It'll be different for everyone. Good. Okay, let's lift back upright. Lean into the hands behind you as you straighten the left leg, but keep the left ankle crossed on top. Bend both knees, pull them towards you, and then continue to lean into your left hand behind. Your spare right hand takes hold of the big toe of the bottom foot, that's your right foot. And then just play around, see if you can find your sit bones and balance by just floating the heels. You can really pull those knees into your chest to help find that. Good. And then see if you can straighten the legs any amount, finding that tension there. Play around. Possibly floating the back hand. A bit like a teeter-totter, isn't it? Good. Okay, so we're going to slowly come back out, bend into the knees, round forwards, give yourself a little hug. Let's untie the legs, and we're going to prepare to start coming down to your back. So just wiggle yourself forward so you have lots of room on the mat behind you. Get any props out of the way, or perhaps even some props you want to use for Shavasana. You could bring those close to you. Anchor through your feet with a bend in the knees And if it feels okay, roll down onto your back body. Otherwise, use your hands and let those come and support as you come down. Good, almost there. Bring a bend back into the knees so the feet are stacked underneath of them. Really root through the heels as you squeeze the glutes. We're lifting up into a bridge, and let's focus more on a back bend this time. So try to gather your shoulder blades a bit closer together. And maybe the hands come to clasp, or otherwise they're just pressing into the mat. Continue to root through the heels as the hips lift a little taller. Be here for 2 more deep breaths. Let the belly expand on the inhale and gently release. 1 more. Make room for yourself to come back down. So separate those hands and let the hips lower. You can widen the feet a bit wider, knocking the knees from side to side for a moment. The next time your knees visit the right side, let them stay there. You could even shift the hips a bit to the left if you'd like. And settle in. Start releasing all of the muscles to the ground. So everything feels a bit heavier. We're holding them less. Prepare to go the other way. Knees rise up. And then they fall to the left as your hips go a bit to the right. Settle back in, letting all the muscles go and just the breath moving through the body. Knees can lift again. If there's any final movements your body is asking you to take, you could go through any of those now. Otherwise, prepare your body for stillness. Reach the legs long. Get comfortable. Hands might be up by your side, or get comfortable feeling the heartbeat. One hand to heart and one to belly. Up to you. We'll take the next few moments to embrace some stillness in the mind and stillness in the body. begin to deepen your breath again. Reintroduce some small and familiar movements into your hands and feet. Stretching your arms overhead, toes far away, get as long as you can. Eventually roll over to one side and rise on up to a seat. So just spending a moment at the end of class here with ourselves, with each other. I want to thank you for sharing your energy with this group here, your energy and your practice. And I want to thank you for your presence, for taking part, being self-aware, curious of your body and your movements. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Namaste.